Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Spiral Society. Tonight, we are getting blasphemous. We are talking about the Catholic Church. I should say, we are talking shit about the Catholic Church. Now, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and I firmly believe that that is probably the biggest reason that I am the militant atheist that I am today. I believe in nothing.
That's fair. That's reasonable and a fair point. Um, Christianity was forced on me since I was born. So I would say I was also raised Catholic, and now I identify as agnostic. I think that's the closest that comes to my beliefs at the moment.
I think almost same. I was, Italian raised Catholic. I was baptized against my will.
Same.
um, and with the passing of time, I just stopped believing and looking for other things that made sense. I don't practice any religion today. I do love Jesus. I think he's homie. I love him. But I'm not a Christian. I don't identify with anything. I practice philosophies, which are like Taoism. That's about it. Just ways of living, but I don't identify with any religion.
You're a very spiritual person, though.
I am.
You believe in not organized religion, but you believe in, I guess, self-love and, setting intentions and meditation and manifesting and
Yeah, but it wasn't always like that. I mean, I grew up growing up Catholic. I think everybody here knows you are in a state of shame and guilt for eternity. Mea culpa,
yes.
the fucking time. But I don't know, with the passing of time, I think I went through many stages. I went through the stages of grief, of knowing that in my mind, like God is not real. Like nothing can be real given that all this shit happens. There's no way. I mean, in the Catholic Church, what made me fall out of this illusion was that I was told that I wasn't pure enough to talk to God myself, and I had to speak through this acidic smelling men in the church. And he was pure enough to talk to God, but I wasn't. So I started just separating. And then I went through, the being an atheist. Oh, I don't believe in anything. But then slowly I started finding that that's just not me. I do believe. I believe in plenty of things, just not
Alec,
religion.
can you define your meaning of agnostic to me? Because when I think of agnostic, I think of you believe in a higher power. You do believe that there's something out there greater than all of us. It's not necessarily a god or a god tied to any religion, but no organized religion, but a higher power.
So, yes, but when it comes to a higher power, it does not necessarily mean a spiritual power. It could be scientific power. It could be scientifically proven potentially. It could be spiritually proven also. But my stance on agnosticism is that the definition of our human minds in a current state, for the most part, are not capable of that understanding to identify it from the beginning to the end. Yes, we could grasp some potential aspects of this, and different people can perceive it differently, but overall we don't have the knowledge enough right now to claim something. Like back in the day, people believe in gods of sun and gods of thunders. Like now we find it funny. So I'm assuming that in 1,000 years, if this fucking planet will not go to shit, people will also say the same about current religious beliefs that we have now.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Look at us go. That's
No,
new.
but it's I mean, no one knows, right? I think the I don't know. I am judgmental and I judge people when they feel that they know everything and then they're so certain of something when I mean, I don't think I know anything. I base my life on my experiences and that's why I'm ever changing. I'm always changing. I'm always either growing or releasing ideals because I am finding out new things and you're learning every day. So I agree with what you said. I don't think there's, an explanation, a full 100% explanation of what is God, what is the creation, what is the divine. We don't know.
Yeah, I also don't necessarily believe there is God. I believe there could be a God, but I'm not saying there is. There could be a scientific explanation too.
So,
T.
UT,
Yeah, what's your stance?
then where do you stand with when you say you don't believe in anything? Like, I want to know more about this. Like, what is it that you nothing, like nothing, no souls, nothing?
Nothing. Nope. I don't believe in souls. I believe that, every person has a personality, obviously, but when you break down someone's personality and what you could call their soul, their essence, to me that's all science. That's all neurons, that's all the way someone's brain is wired and how those neurons connect and how they fire off and talk to one another. It boils down to basic science. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in any of it. Any of it.
Makes sense when you sleep with the fucking Ouija board over your head.
It means
Psycho.
nothing to me.
I know.
It means nothing to me, but just someone crafted that by hand, and I think it looks cool.
You see, the fucked up part that Christians would deem you evil by default, even though you don't believe in, Satan, you don't believe in God, but by default, you're still fucking sinful and evil just because you don't believe in God. How dare you?
Most Christians and Catholics would probably refer to me as a Satanist, quite honestly, because to them, if you don't believe in God, there's no atheism. There's no being agnostic. There's no questioning. There's no having doubts. There's no having any sort of feelings other than what they want you to believe.
Black and white.
Right. So
Yeah.
to them, if you don't strictly adhere to what they want you to believe and follow, the devil got you. You're a Satanist. I'm not a Satanist. I don't believe in Satan to be a Satanist, but then again, that's a whole nother story for a different day, because what most people believe Satanism to be is not worshiping Satan. It's actually an anti-government establishment, but story for another time.
I do feel that, there is a misinterpretation of the Bible. The Bible on its own, for me, it means nothing. I'm sorry. It honestly, I actually feel guilt saying this because of the way that I was raised. Like, till this day, if I see a car wreck or something, I literally do this. Like, I can't get it out of you can get the girl out of the Catholicism, but you can get the Catholicism out of the fucking girl. Like, why do I do this? I don't know. Seriously, I don't know.
You're just being superstitious probably at this point.
I'm super superstitious. So that's another way. Super superstitious. But yeah, I think that it's just a misinterpretation of the whole thing. Jesus wasn't a person that had a religion or led by religion. Quite the opposite. He was a person that a normal man, possibly enlightened, in my opinion, that was anti-establishment and anti-government and anti-religion. So where did all of these tales and narratives come from? I can't be sure, but I don't think it is the way that he was trying to give his teachings. And I'm pretty sure he will be cool with you, T.
The Bible to me is Harry Potter. And I always say, I swear to God, one day, millions of years from now, someone's going to be digging in some fucking dirt somewhere, come across Harry Potter and be like, oh my God. And it's going to become a religion. Like, that's what the Bible is to me. Like, actually, no one dug up the Bible. They printed the Bible, and the person who invented the first printing press was Catholic. So they got to make the Bible whatever they wanted it to be, because the first book they ever printed was the Bible. There's a fun fact for you. But anyway, and then you have the King James version, because, all the kings wanted to change all the rules and they didn't like certain rules. So they all wrote their own versions of the Bible to be able to get away with whatever bullshit they wanted to get away with and still be Catholic. It's been so bastardized and manipulated throughout the years that we don't even know. And the Vatican controls what you see. So the Bible you read today is not the original Bible by any means. It's been heavily edited and a lot has been left out. But
Yes.
still, I believe that the original writings, if we are to say that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John sat down and wrote about their friend Jesus, I I don't think like it holds no weight to me. I think it's just stories meant to teach stupid people at the time morals and basic concepts of life and how to conduct yourself, because it was just lawless back then. It was crazy. No one, everyone was doing whatever the fuck they wanted.
Yeah.
There's also so much has been lost in the translation. There's, besides, different versions, it's been translated so many times and rewritten that, even if you track simple translation for the past, few decades, you already see a lot of changes and what it means. And people just simply follow what they see now without thinking that certain words got twisted to, push a certain agenda, and they like, oh yeah, the Bible says that. Okay, cool, bro, but like that doesn't mean shit, because you don't really go back and dig deeper to understand a better meaning of what that specific part even meant
But
just a
the
few
Bible
decades
is
ago.
it's also written by humans many years after the fact of Jesus being murdered, because that's another thing that it triggers me with the Catholic Church and the Vatican and all this shit. So you have a man that is crucified, murdered. He is tortured and murdered. And then they utilize the cross as a symbol of remembrance.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. It's never made sense to me. Every time I looked at a cross, I will send you guys a picture. Like for my first communion, they gave me this gold and mother pearl cross, and I hung it in my room. And every time I looked at it, it didn't bring me joy and peace. It brought me guilt. Oh, he died for my sins. He didn't die for your sins. He was murdered. He was murdered because he was teaching to be anti-establishment and anti-government. So I don't know. For me, it's like having this representation of the cross. It's kind of morbid. Like, why do you? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it would? I mean, I'm sorry, but the Jewish people don't have Nazi pictures killing Jews to remember
Right.
what they went through. Like I don't know. For me, it doesn't make much sense.
Well, two things I want to say here, because you brought up Nazis, and I think it's only fitting to talk about the Catholic Church and the Vatican and their relationship with the Nazis, which was a very close one. But to answer your question, there's a lot of things about the Bible and Catholicism and Christianity in general, all sects of Christianity, that is gruesome, and symbols that people are supposed to look at and worship and idolize or remember something. It's always terrible. Like terrible. That's why I think that's one of the things that got me from a very young age, was like, why do I want to be a part of this? Why do I want to worship a God? Why do I, who's constantly causing death and destruction and like all these horrible things? Like, apparently he didn't like everyone, so he sent a big fucking flood to kill everyone except Noah and his family and two of every animal. Like,
That's why I don't believe in that. I don't
I
believe
don't
that
believe,
at all.
like, first of all, I know it's bullshit. But even if it wasn't bullshit, like what is supposed to compel me to be like, "Oh yes, God, I love you. You're so wonderful." Like, you hate us all, clearly.
It's
I think it's
Go
easy
ahead,
way
go ahead.
out. It's an easy way out for many people, just to follow one little book and, just see it black or white, and that's it. It's easier because you don't have to go through a process of thinking and adjusting your own moral compass. It's just easier for you to believe what you've been told to believe, because you don't want to use your little, I sound like a dick, but you know what I mean. Like, you don't want to use your two little brain cells that you have and to dig deeper. No offense
Okay,
to
I do have
Christians,
to
or
say
take it, I
something
don't
about
care.
this. I do have to say something about this. First, I don't really judge people that follow any
No, same.
religion. You are free to do what you want as long as you're not harming anyone or wanting people to follow the same beliefs that you have. I think it's very important to
Yeah.
maintain that balance and respect that you can do what you want. Don't look at me as a less than, or try to inflict your laws and your rules and your way of living into my life. Now, I do believe that some people need religion or some sort of belief, not necessarily religion. We're going to call that religion now for the sake of this conversation, but some sort of belief. As I'm going to tell this story, I will text my sister later before this airs out because I have to ask for permission that I didn't. But I'm sure she'll be fine with it. But when my sister moved here, she was 12 years old and she started in a middle school in Florida. And she was confronted with a harsh reality that we don't have. Like the schools here are so big compared to my country. Like in my country, you have a 12 people classroom, really small classes, whatever. When she came here, she didn't speak English. What is the class, Alec? ASL?
ESL,
Yeah, that.
ESL.
English second
ESL,
language. Yeah.
yes. She was no ASL. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Anyways, she was confronted with visually, I would see it as two paths, you know. There were the bullies in the school that treat her like shit, insult her for not speaking English. And there were two types of people after her, wanting to recruit her. I don't know how to say, but she had the group of people that will do drugs in the bathroom. There will be like this emo punks, whatever the shit they were, cutting, doing all of these things. And there was this group of, you know, girls, one of them a Mexican girl that was in a Christian church in Florida, and she befriended this girl. And her life, I feel like that was a split of like, there's another reality where she hung out with the other group of people and she had a different outcome. But for her, she became a school Sunday school teacher. She spent many years in this church, fully believing. We had plenty of arguments over her going to this church and making it all part of her life. But eventually, once her life was set in motion in a good path, she starts doing her due diligence, which is what Alec refers as using your two fucking brain cells and breaking this down and questioning everything and just finding your own moral compass. I think for some people it's necessary. The thing is that the extremism that exists within religions or any particular groups, that is the problem. It's fundamentally wrong. Any extremism is.
You hear
Yeah.
this story over and over again, though, not exactly your sister's story, but just some version of it. And all I hear when you say that is predatory, predators. They always get people who are vulnerable. They always get people when they're at their lowest points. They always get people when they're very open to brainwashing and manipulation and indoctrination because they're at some point in their life where they're really receptive to anything that's going to make them feel like have your choice, makes them feel like they fit in, makes them feel like they're loved, makes them feel like they're accepted, makes
They
them feel
had
like they're not
community. They had
alone.
a big
Right.
community.
Mm.
It's a gang. It's a fucking gang when you think about
They're
it.
cults. They're cults. Now,
It's a cult.
I will say she didn't have any negative experiences within the group of people. Obviously, there
That's good.
are bad people in those groups that we know about, know now, what we didn't know before, that you can see
Yeah.
from, you know. But I think that it was fundamentally the right thing for her to do. I'm just happy that she finally kind of woke up from this, because it is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It is beautiful to have community, to have a group of people you can count on, and everybody's super positive. I don't think this happens in all churches, but this particular one that she belonged to, it was a sense of community until it wasn't. Until it wasn't. So, I mean, who's to say?
Until you stop falling in line. Until you stop
Yes.
blindly
Donating.
following.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the donating thing, it's
The
ridiculous.
biggest like mind blow that I had back in the day when I was younger, it was like at this point, like 14 years ago, I was like in my early 20s, and my fiance and I were bullied by our parents to go and get a priest to bless our new apartment that we're moving into. Because in Europe, and specifically in Ukraine, religion is very close tied with culture. So even though some people are not necessarily very religious, there are some parts of Christian traditions that became culture. And, you know, since parents helped us get an apartment, they bullied us into getting a priest. So we're like, oh, fuck, like, fine, let's do it just, so they're happy and we can move on. We went to the church inside, like, hey, can we talk to the priest? Yeah, sure. And then as we walked in to talk to him, nonchalantly, the accountant was sitting next to us, emptying all the donation boxes, writing down, counting the money, writing down all the numbers, like nothing is happening, and like separating them in different like areas and putting some to the safe. Like it was just like a business. I felt like, and it was like a shady business, and they were so nonchalant about this, like, yeah, we're just counting money, and I just cannot, comprehend this, that
But did they bless your
clearly
house? I'm curious.
I don't remember at this
Or
point. I
did they
think we
refuse?
did, but I tried to erase that memory from my mind so badly that I don't even recall at this point. I think so. And it was just like stupid thing because the priest comes and like takes this holy water and just sprays around your house.
You could
And
have
it's
done
just
the
like,
same thing with sage, my friend.
exactly. But
Just text me next time. I'll give you
oh no, that was
a
like,
little
if we
spell.
can invent a time machine and go back 14 years ago,
It's
now it'll be
all
like,
about cash. It's all about, I don't know when
yeah,
people are going to wake up and realize that it's all about the Benjamins, baby. That is
yeah.
all they fucking care about. The Vatican especially. Catholics especially, like you're expected to give 10% of every single one of your paychecks to the church if you're a Catholic. That's the expectation. They would
Mhm.
like more than that, but the bare minimum is 10%. Um, do you know that the Vatican spends more money each year than Apple makes in revenue? And Apple makes billions of dollars in
Billions, yeah.
revenue each year, and the Vatican spends more than that. So, in order for the Vatican to spend more than Apple is making, that means that they're bringing in how much more than Apple?
Well,
That's
the
insane.
the Vatican is the single most I think they hold the most shares than anyone. They own the most amount of land and buildings where they don't pay taxes,
Yep.
which I swear to you, if there was one thing, if they would tell me one thing right now, what can you do to change one rule within the government, will be tax the fucking church.
Hell
Tax
yeah.
the shit out of them. You have issues, tax the church. You can do this, all fine, and you will find less people opening churches and fucking little cults to launder money. Like even Kris Jenner from the Kardashian mom, they even have a fucking church where they launder money. Like
That's what they're
what
there for.
what's stopping me? What's stopping me from doing this? I could
The
have
How is
Vatican
that still
has
okay? Like, how T, explain it to me and Adriana too as immigrants. Like, how the fuck this law is still a thing that we're not taxing churches? Like, do
I,
you have
I have
understanding
no
of this?
idea. I
Because
have
I
no
have no
idea.
fucking idea after like 13 years or 12 years living here.
I don't know the origins of this law. I'm sure the origins of this law come from a very long time ago when a lot of the people who established this country established it with Christian values.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People came to this country to have freedom of religion. So with that freedom of religion came them establishing their different churches that they wanted to be able to go to and worship without persecution. So I'm sure it came from, and I don't know this as a fact. If anyone out there does, feel free to correct me in the comments. But I'm sure it started because the founding fathers and the people, the colonists who originally came here were the ones building the churches. And they were like, we ain't paying taxes on this. We're building it. So probably started from there
The
and
house of
just kept
God is
going.
the house of God. He doesn't get taxed.
No, you
God
see, like,
doesn't get taxed.
I understand that like a few years ago that made sense, but like why I was still upholding, and keeping that fucking law in 2024.
I don't know,
And
but if I sell $600 on Etsy, I have to pay taxes. So might
Yeah.
as
exactly.
well. What if I open a Christian Etsy?
That's you should probably.
Yeah, you can just open a church and sell it out of
Yeah.
the church.
Maybe. But listen, religion, I mean, has been used to justify the Crusades, the Inquisition, the witch Salem trials,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. So now that we are in this part of the topic, we have to talk about the Vatican Church. I mean, the Vatican in
I
general.
got to go
not the
back to
Vatican
the
Church.
Nazis because the Nazis
Yeah.
have
Oh,
the
Oh,
Nazis
yeah.
have
I
a lot
will.
of
Yes, you didn't finish saying that. Let's get into it because there's the Vatican is the father of all this bullshit.
source.
So
right,
let's
the
go.
source.
Yeah.
But the one point about the Vatican's relationship with the Nazis has a lot to do today with their wealth as well, and how their wealth grew so much. Because not only did the Vatican, after World War II, there were all these Nazis. You know, Hitler's, well, some people say he's not dead, but at this point, Hitler's dead, and the Nazis were just kind of hanging out there, and a lot of them were facing death and jail and a whole bunch of shit for the atrocities that they committed. So the Vatican helped the Nazis after World War II, and they took them in as refugees secretly, didn't tell anyone, and then helped them move into different parts of South America, which is why there's a lot of German communities today in places like Argentina and
Venezuela.
yeah, because the Vatican helped take them in and move them throughout South America and kept them hidden. But when they took them in, not only did they take in the Nazis and help them, they took all the riches, all the money, all the jewelry, all the art that the Nazis stole from the Jewish people that they
That's
were
insane.
executing. So in the Vatican, this is a fact. This is not
Yep.
conspiracy. To this day, in the Vatican is a whole bunch of Nazi treasure, I guess you could say, that the Vatican helped smuggle for them as they were helping them escape and move around and hide out in South America. Fucking crazy.
Maybe those artifacts are in the archives under the Vatican, because recently I learned that there is underground archives for the Vatican. I am not sure if anybody wants to correct me as well in the comments, or you guys. Apparently it's 5 miles long, where they hold literature, they hold artifacts from the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians. I mean, you name it. Flying objects, technology withheld from back in the day. Because remember, when they started doing this, the Spaniards starting to colonize, all of these things were brought back to the things that they found, right? Brought back to Spain, and then from Spain, because everything is by the Vatican, all of this conquers and all of these things are because of the Vatican and the Catholicism. Now we have a bunch of things missing, parts of history that could solve a lot of mysteries, or they can give a lot of insight of how things worked before, not a couple thousand years ago, you know? So maybe it is where these things are in the archive. I mean, there have been a few people that have been able to go down there, and there are whistleblowers, but none of this is confirmed. So, but I believe it.
Yeah,
I
that's why
believe
there's
it.
so many speculations. There's so many conspiracies surrounding that, because many people suggest that, like you're saying, there could be so much knowledge there that they're hiding. And, back also to the Nazis, I wonder if Vatican was working closely with CIA for the Project Paperclip then, if they were
I don't
sending
doubt it.
Vatican was
Oh, I'm
helping,
sure.
I don't
exactly.
doubt
So
it.
now, like, the dots of our previous episodes, which you haven't watched yet, go back and do it,
Always.
are dots connecting now. And there's always,
Always.
regardless of the topic, we still have dots connecting from our previous episodes, and goes to the CIA often as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got dots to episode 1. I got the Vatican tied in with the moon landing, the alleged moon landing.
Whoa, okay, that's news to me now. I want to know.
I want to hear about this, but I just want to say something. What if these archives are just keeping all of the things that would deflect from the narrative that the entirety of the world? Because remember, if we go back to our previous episodes, we always in one way or another end up talking about the Illuminatis or the Masonic Temple, all of these particular secret societies that are one. These people are one. So what if these archives are like literally it's the basement where all of the secrets are kept? Why are these things not public, right? If churches are so open and we're funding these churches and not paying taxes, and you're giving 10% of your pay, why not everyone can go down there and explore what they have. They even have missing pages and chapters of the Bible. What
Yeah.
does it say there? You know, so I don't know. It's a lot, but I'm dying to hear about the moon landing connection with the Vatican, because it does not make sense to me to even form a thought right now.
Well, do you want me to answer your question first as to why no
Sure.
one could see what's down there? This is
Absolutely.
my opinion.
Mhm.
I don't know for a fact, but I have two answers to that. One, because they have a lot of art, and that is a fact that they have a lot of art. There's a lot of art down there hidden in the
And magic books, apparently.
and art is one of the real estate and art.
Mm-hmm.
Money laundering. Screams money
Yes.
laundering all the time.
They already have had many accusations of this.
Oh,
All
they're hit all
traffickings.
the time. They're
All
hit all the time.
traffickings.
And then on the conspiracy side of things, I have heard that hidden in these archives is proof that Jesus actually did not exist. And that is what the Vatican is holding so secure. And they don't
Hmm.
want that, obviously, ever to get out there, because that would destroy them. That's the
Who do
foundation
I
of their
pay?
religion.
Who do I pay to go see this?
You can't afford it.
Yeah, I don't think
Fuck.
any of us even collectively can afford that.
No, not even with our Team
Yeah.
Con paychecks combined.
I know.
No,
Yep. The $3 not gonna get us far.
no. Okay, so I'm ready for the moon landing thing.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
so
curious.
we'll have to talk about exorcisms. Now, the Catholic
Okay.
Church is known for performing exorcisms. At one point in time, they even had a chief exorcism officer, like the head
Excuse me.
fucking whatever the hell he was. I think he was a priest, because he was father something or other. Anyway, he alone performed. It is said that he alone performed 160,000 exorcisms.
Jesus.
That's a lot. That's a lot of
working
demons.
overtime. That's like
sure
working
is.
overtime. Hell. Wow.
He was the
okay.
chief. He was the chief exorcism officer for, I want to say, 64 years, and in that 64 years, he did 160,000 exorcisms.
Fun fact,
Wow.
I've never watched the Exorcist movie because I believe in it so
should.
much.
We're going
No,
there
I
right now.
can't. I can't.
We're going there right now.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Clearly, I do not believe in exorcisms, because in order to believe in exorcisms, you would have to believe in demons, and absolutely
Things,
not.
right?
I mean, come on. But anyway,
Nah.
go into the movie. So the movie is based on actual events. And I wrote it down so I get the dates and everything right. So in the movie The Exorcist, which is probably one of the most popular horror movies of all time, and still to this day known as one of the scariest horror movies, it's based on actual events. In real life, it was 1949. It wasn't a little girl, it was a little boy. And at the time, he was known as Robbie Doe, because they did not want to release his name. There wasn't as much like craziness going on. Like, his head wasn't spinning around. He wasn't projectile vomiting green slime. But he did have self-inflicted he had wounds on his body that were allegedly from a demon. A lot of people think that they were self-inflicted. A lot of people think that he did this whole thing because he didn't want to go to school, to get out of going to school. So an exorcism was in fact performed on him, and I think it lasted like 2 or 3 months, that the priest kept going back and doing exorcism after exorcism to
That
get the
sounds
demons out of
exhausting.
him. So his name was not released until 2020, after he died. And the reason why they waited until he died is because he actually grew up to work for NASA, and he had a very prominent position in NASA. And he was
No.
a spacecraft technology engineer, and he is the one responsible for designing and building the technology for the Apollo missions and the 1969 Apollo 11 mission, where they put men on the moon.
Shut
Fuck it.
up.
He did self-inflict. He did all these things not to go to school. He's a liar.
His
I'm
real
kidding.
name is Ronald Edwin
Wow.
Hunkler. Ronald Edwin Hunkler. And
Unbelievable.
he had a very prominent
Damn.
position in NASA, but he is the real life story of The Exorcist.
I don't know what I
Well,
don't,
shit.
don't believe. I don't
But
know.
wait,
I
it
don't
gets
know.
better. It gets better. It gets
Oh my
better.
gosh.
So there's more connections
How
to
come?
the Vatican and the Catholic Church and the moon. So not only was this very famous exorcism a NASA spacecraft technology engineer, but in 1969, when they landed on the moon, the Archbishop of Orlando declared the moon part of the Diocese of Orlando. So the
What?
moon, yes,
Okay, you're losing me. What? Say that again? What?
the territory of the moon is part of the Diocese of Orlando, Florida. And that goes back to a very old law called the Canon Laws. And basically what the law says in the Catholic Church, this isn't like a actual law, this is fantasy Catholic Church law. What that law says is that the territory belongs to the explorers. So basically, if you're the explorer who finds that land, it belongs to that diocese. In this case, Apollo 11 launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Orlando, and
They
therefore,
didn't.
allegedly,
Allegedly.
you know, I don't think we went to the moon. I'm just telling you what the fucking Catholic Church says.
Watch our
You know,
episode 1.
Bullshit.
there everything the Catholic Church says is bullshit, but I'm just telling you the Diocese of Orlando claims territory
Wow.
over the moon.
How
How delusional, and like, how are you
Honestly.
maintaining that territory? What are you doing there, people?
honestly.
Oh God, I cannot.
Honestly.
That's
That
Jesus.
is mind blowing. I will read more into this because I find it so ridiculous. Honestly, it's like how many more tales attached to this ridiculousness. I do want to say something about the exorcism.
Everything goes back to NASA. Everything goes back to the CIA. Everything goes back to everything. Like everything that we have
The
talked about
Illuminati,
so
the
far.
Masons.
Yeah,
All intertwined. Yeah,
it's all intertwined.
it's
It
crazy.
is. It's wild. I do want to say something. I when you said the self-inflicted wounds from this boy or the girl in the movie, whatever, I do want to tell you that I have lived firsthand. I think that's why I'm a believer and I'm terrified of anything negative, any negative. You know how I live. I'm like all positive energy. I'm like cleaning my space. I don't watch anything like that negative in my air, in my mind. I don't allow it. Um, my mother, when she was going through a separation with my father, he was cheating on her with the daughter of a prominent witch, not even witch, it was Santeria, that type of witchcraft in South America.
My neighbors are Santeria.
My mother used to wake up with full on scratches with blood on her body, all over her back, places where you can't reach. Like, it's not like she was able to do this. They were scratches, big time. And we had a bunch of paranormal things happen in our home while this time of my father dating this woman. Like, we found, for example, this is going to make you laugh, but my mother found a pair of scissors without the screw in the middle and only tied each of them separated with ribbons. And my mom threw them away. And once, things got really bad in my home, she did go to like a witch male. I don't know how you call that in
A
English.
warlock.
Warlock.
Okay. A
I
brujo.
guess.
And
That's
when
not English.
she I know. But when she told him, the things that have been happening and the findings that she had, he was like, you should have not thrown that away. Those are spells. Like the separation of the scissors is breaking up people or whatever, things like that. So that's why I believe.
You're gonna upset so many lesbians right now.
No scissoring.
And I had a boyfriend that his cousin, she was maybe 15 years old and she apparently was possessed, and they had to take her to a cacique. It's like it's an indigenous, I don't even know how to explain this in English, honestly.
Like
I
a
don't
witch
even
doctor?
Kind of. They're from this particular regions and they have high positions in the spiritual realm, whatever the fuck that means, because I don't fully understand it. but she was possessed in a way where she was speaking like a man, not trans, just speaking like a man in possession. And she was ultra strong. Like she had to physically fight this man who was possibly, I don't know, 2 feet taller than her. And she was super strong. And they had to do all of this weird things, you know, that they do with like smacking them with branches and praying over them and spitting on them, like all of this crazy thing. So for me, I feel like there's no way for me to say is bullshit. Like I can't. I wish I did because I am terrified. I don't like it.
I don't know. Every time I hear those experiences, for my perspective, I just see mental health issues. I'm sorry. I
I understand,
find
but
it
how do you
hard to believe
explain
that.
the I don't know. There's a lot of inexplicable things. Like for me, the personal thing that I've witnessed with my own eyes, not the story that I just told you about my boyfriend. With the thing with my mother, it's unexplicable. The fact that she would be bleeding after going to sleep and like having this markings on her body, it was terrifying, truly. So
No,
I
that
don't
part, that part, like,
know.
I still believe there's potentially some supernatural activities happening in this world that we cannot explain. And I believe in that potentially, but like stories that like some lady thought she was possessed by a man, like that's where I'm like,
I
drawing
don't
the
know.
line
I
I went
don't.
to a
personally.
Santeria party. You want to hear about it?
Sure.
So
Did you
my
I
neighbor,
sacrifice
wouldn't.
anyone?
I wouldn't.
my neighbors practice Santeria very openly. Like I've talked to them about it. Um,
They're friendly. They're not. I mean, if you don't
yeah,
fuck with them, they don't fuck with you.
yeah, they're friendly. Um, my neighbor is a younger guy, maybe in his early 30s, late 20s. And his father, who is his adoptive father and who is much older, his father is in his 80s. So his father is a high priest in our local Santeria community. And his father invited us to his birthday party. And he was turning 85, I want to say at the time. This was like 5, 6 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I gotta see this shit. Of
Yeah.
course I am going.
Of course she's going.
Of
Duh.
course I am going. I gotta see this shit. Um, so we went in, and the craziest thing that you first see was that they removed all the furniture from the house and filled the entire apartment with fruit. The floors covered in fruit.
Fruit?
Offerings.
Fruit.
Yeah, they're
Huh.
offerings.
Oh, okay.
And yes. And then you walk into this one room where there's more fruit on the ground, but it's all dolls. Big dolls.
Die. I die. I
Like
run.
maybe like 2 feet, some of them 3 feet tall
Nope.
dolls.
Bye.
All female. And in
That's
there was
creepy.
a Santeria priestess. And so I asked her, I'm like, what's going on here? Explain all this to me. And basically, the dolls are all represent different goddesses. And there's a lot of goddesses in Santeria. I don't remember all their names.
Maria Leonza, one of them.
Maybe that was the main one. I don't know. But all of the dolls, like they believe that the spirits of the goddesses are actually in the dolls. So the dolls are like living in a sense.
Bitch. I'm
And
scared.
they're all dressed very ornamentally, very fancy. They all have different clothes, and each one is like a different color, and it represents like what that goddess represents. And then more fruit on the ground. And then the one main doll who had the most elaborate outfit of them all, she's the one who you have to give money to. And you have to like say a little, you don't have to say a prayer. You can say a prayer if you want, but you have to like say a little like just well wishes for the birthday boy and whatever. And then give your offering, which is money. The more money you give, the more that's what I'm like, all right, this is about money. That's why
Yep.
I was
Always
invited here
about
in the
money.
first. That's why I was invited here in the first place. Let's
We
be
have
so fucking for real.
we have a whole mountain dedicated to Maria Leonza, which is this, I guess, goddess, queen of witchcraft, santeria, whatever the shit they do. And people go and they bury dead animals and they do all the things. And it's happening in Hollywood. What was this famous person that decided to post a video of her cleaning her sacrifice altar with all of the chicken blood and the splatter?
Oh, yeah. Who
Azealia
was that?
something. I don't remember her name. I will find it. Azealia, something like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
bad with pop
I think that's her name.
culture. But yeah, and there's been claims of Jennifer Lopez and all of the thing, whatever. And anyways, can we reroute for a second to the Vatican though? Because there are connections here. Like you can tell me, first of all, when they were punishing witches for believing in the natural way or doing spells, doing these things, religions do the same. When I burn incense and I have my sage around and my crystals, I'm putting my intentions and my, energy in these things the same way as they do. They do their incense in their church.
Yeah, they walk
They-
around with that
Yep.
thing, that big thing that
Yes.
puts the incense
Myrrh.
everywhere. And
It's
I've seen the
myrrh.
best video when once a child was hit. Was that? It was so
Oh
funny.
my gosh. I've seen
Sorry
it.
for the brutal side note, but it was so funny.
I have
we
seen
need to
it.
put that clip here. Please find that clip.
I'll try to find it.
I've seen it. It's so good. It's so good. But anyways, it's all about the intention that you put into things. Like people are so judgmental for, judging someone that believes in magic or that believes in the energies and all of these things, when at the same time you're praying to a deity that you have never seen, you don't know, you're believing from a book. Like people need to, that's why in my philosophy of living, you have to find harmony and balance. Like you can't be so judgmental of others' beliefs when you're technically doing the same. And not in your case, T, because you believe in nothing and you're like, okay, fuck all of these crazy people. But for people like us, and the majority of people believe in something. So I don't know. I find it so ironic, and the hypocrisy of it all with the Vatican and the moral construct when you literally walk into the Vatican and all you have is these little penises everywhere and like boobs and the statues, and you have the pedophile things and the trafficking and money laundering. Like, is the hypocrisy for me. That's why in one of the episodes I did say that I thought the Vatican and the Catholic Church, I said the Catholic Church, but I meant the Vatican. It was some form of demonic force, completely opposite of what the Jesus or Christ consciousness would be, which is not Christ consciousness for me. It's not religion. It's not Christianism. So they, I don't know, they live a very, it's a life that I can't comprehend that they will be living after Jesus' teachings. You know what I'm saying? Like you have all of these priests wearing the oddest things, and we can get into things that you probably will know, which is like, first of all, the hat. The hat looks like a fucking fish from the side, and that dates back to 5,000 years ago with there's a god, Dagon, I think it's called. Whatever, that he was like half fish, half man, all mythology.
Was he reptilian?
I don't fucking know. Maybe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then you have the Pope wearing all of this clothes, and in some of them he has the infamous, and this is recent. It's not like, oh, well, 100 years ago. No, very recently you see him with the famous or infamous pedophile sign, which is the triangle within the triangle, exactly the same as the one in the FBI. Like, why? What are the symbols? And then the shoes, the red shoes.
The red shoes.
That blows my mind. If anybody knows about the red shoes, you know that there is this conspiracy that these shoes are made out of human skin.
Flesh.
Yeah. And it's just a lot of, I don't know, it contradicts themselves in the whole way of living, you know? I find it dark.
It's the hypocrisy. What you just said, the hypocrisy of people who claim they follow their religion fully, their hypocrisy, it's always what I often like, and always pretty much, I can't even decide if often and always, I'll say always find a problem with, because the hypocrisy of saying, well, Bible said this and that. Yeah, but Bible also said many other things that you choose not to follow. My biggest problem, and actually I got into major arguments with a lot of my family members, even close ones, about them telling that specific things I do are not good by the Bible. And the hypocrisy is that they're not fully following the Bible. They always choosing what they want to follow, but they want you to follow what they choose. And the hypocrisy is the biggest issue that I have with people who are forcing their beliefs on you.
It's a facade. It's a facade. The Vatican, the Pope, the church, everything that Catholicism has become is a facade because tale as old as time, everyone got greedy and breeds filth. And they're standing there and they're preaching the fundamental of Catholicism, which is the 10 Commandments and how everyone should be so righteous and follow those. And they're breaking every single one of them for money. Like there's so many things.
Not even for money. It's for more things than that. It's for greed. It's for pleasure. It's for whatever sick fetishes they have. I mean, you have the Pope. What was the Pope before this one? Benedict?
I don't even pay attention.
I
The
don't
last
follow
Pope I
them.
remember is Pope John Paul II. How long ago was that? I don't even know. That was like I was
Pope
probably
Benedict
5.
was removed for many reasons. He had ties to the Nazis, a bunch of weird shit going on with him. Anybody can go ahead and look it up because I'm not here to teach
Did
that.
he resign? Is he like the first pope to
He
ever
was,
resign?
yes. And
Mhm.
also, one of the biggest scandals behind his name is that he was moving priests from, different locations because he was abusing children. And he ended up even moving one that abused 100 deaf kids. So where does it land with the morality? And that's why I always will feel that they have this dark side. And we talked about it, like the snake head and the resurrection sculpture that looks like a fucking reptilian. Like, who are you? I don't know you. I don't like you. And they have this monstrosity of things happening, yet you're pointing fingers, you're calling homosexuality a sin, you're telling me, oh, okay, well, if it's a sin as it is to commit murder, you literally were persecuting people that were not Christians or not Catholics and killing them, literally. Like, literally this happened. So I don't get it. I don't buy it. I find you gross, Vatican.
But you see, like,
completely.
but to backtrack a little bit, what you just brought up about like homosexuality being a sin and you're gonna go to hell, that goes back to what we covered in the beginning of a lot of things that have been lost in translation. Because whichever verse that says that, I'm not,
It
here
actually
to
said
remember
men
that.
with children.
Exactly. Thank you. Originally, it was says that man should not lay with a boy, meaning a
Exactly.
child. And then it was, let's say, lost in translation. Obviously, once again, to push a certain agenda, it got switched and translated again to just slightly change the meaning in their perspective. Because, like,
Yeah.
oh, just translation. But no, it changed the whole thing fully. And yeah.
It was boys because there's been pervs since the beginning of time, since before
Exactly.
the Jesus shoes were made.
That was I'm gonna talk about a Catholic Church icon right now because it's a very fitting time to talk about her. In reality, she's an evil, sadistic, wretched woman.
Gotcha.
I don't believe in hell, but if there was one, she'd be burning in it right now. And that is Mother Teresa. And that is what the Catholic Church used her for because she was so famous and she was known for being, an angel on earth and just everything holy and wonderful and great and good and gracious and whatever the fuck. It was all, again, a facade. What the Catholic Church actually used her for, because she was so famous and because she was so well known and well liked, whenever there was a case of a priest or any ranking member within the Catholic Church touching children, they would send Mother Teresa in as a character witness to either, testify on behalf of that priest or write a letter to the judge on behalf of that priest and basically vouch for that priest and get them off the hook. Because if you're a judge and you're getting a letter from Mother Teresa telling you he's a wonderful man, please don't do that, you're not going to do that. And that's why priests never got in trouble back in the day, because Mother Teresa was going in and the Vatican would like literally send her to
and
all of these places.
That's the ones that actually got publicly accused because that's what they did. They hid the facts And then people like her, which obviously it has been proven that she was a sadistic bitch, she basically enjoyed that suffering. She enjoyed it. She thrived in it.
She
And then
promoted suffering.
she did. And then when she actually got sick, she will get the best medical care while these people were, suffering in poverty and just telling them that this is the way of life or whatever.
Well, she believed that because Jesus suffered on the cross, everyone should suffer to feel a bit of what Jesus felt.
I bet Jesus wouldn't want that.
To the extent that she had many hospices. That's what she was known for. Hospices, the angel taking care of the sick and dying.
The angel of death.
The angel of death. Because what she was actually doing was pocketing all of the charity money that she would get for these hospices.
Yeah.
And because she believed in suffering, she believed that the people in her the patients did not receive medicine, dirty needles, sleeping on floors, dirty instruments, not taken care of at all.
Not
and
taking
she was
medicine
pocketing
either.
all the money that people donated to these hospices. She died a multi-millionaire. You tell me what kind of holy woman who's doing all these charities and all this good work dies a multi-millionaire. She took all the fucking money and left these people to rot and die, all in the name of they should suffer like Jesus.
Now that you say that, it's just so funny. It's again with the hypocrisy and the misinterpretation and the falseness behind all of this followers of this man-made religions.
Wasn't she made a saint?
I don't
think
know.
so.
Maybe.
I think I could be wrong, but I'm almost convinced.
Maybe
I could be wrong. Guys, correct us in the comments, because
possibly. But
she's still idolized.
Yeah, well, I mean, people are very ignorant. People don't research. People don't read. People are not curious enough to want to know more. And, they consider everything else a lie or a conspiracy, whatever. Read a fucking book. But the Bible literally says if they are following the Bible, that is easier. And in English translation is going to be a little difficult for me, but I think it's something about it will be easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich person.
What?
Or a wealthy person. Yeah,
I
don't
no
know.
idea
Alec,
what
did you?
said. I have no idea what you just said, honestly.
Basically saying that it will be easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich person to heaven, because the greed of the wealth.
Now you.
I will find it. I'm not sure if the translation that I'm giving you is correct. But it's basically saying that the greed.
Okay, so pretty much.
Speak for yourself. I do not have the point.
So it's pretty much impossible
for
the people who are rich to go to heaven because
they're
so fucked up.
Because you're a greedy person. If you're so wealthy, it means greed, right? You're not helping others that possibly could need the help. Like all of these people, they hoard money. Bill Gates, all of this Oprah, all of these people, they hoard money, right? So,
well, it's one of the 7 deadly sins.
You have all of this. How do you call them? Telechurches.
Oh God, the televangelists.
Don't even go there.
Ultra millionaire, begging people for money. They live this life of wealth. What are they these people are in?
There's one popular one right now that's named in the Diddy lawsuit.
Which one?
His
name is TD Jakes. Is his name.
Oh, I don't know.
He was chilling with Diddy, and he has been named.
Of course he has.
He's on the list.
Of course he has.
Honestly, you see, like, even though it's fucked up, obviously, on so many levels, some of them, I'll need to give them credit. They're being good entrepreneurs. They're making money. Realistically, they're able to fool so many people to donate to them and give them money. They deserve some credit for that shit. I'll give it to them. Even though it's fucked up, obviously. I'll give it to them.
I don't know. Where do you draw the line? Like, I feel as a society at this point, it's 2024. You should know better. If you are still stupid enough to listen to this shit that you hear from these people on TV, and I'm not shitting on anyone's religion or beliefs. I'm strictly talking about the televangelists right now. If you're dumb enough to hand them over your money, like at that point, I just gotta be like, whatever. Get your
Well,
bag,
You
televangelist. I don't know what else to say.
Exactly.
survival of the fittest. I do believe in, I don't believe in heaven or hell. I believe in Jesus as a person that existed and was enlightened. I believe in reincarnation. For me, it is a simple fact that these people are not curious enough, not maybe it's a lack of self-love and self awareness that they're believing everything that is being fed to them instead of just doing some research. It's really not that hard. It's at your fingertips. You can do research. You can
Now it
separate
is, yeah.
reality from fiction. There are so many
It's a lack of
misinterpretations.
education. I'm sorry.
I
And
also agree.
I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it truly is. Because if you look at the areas where the televangelists are the most popular, are the most prominent, and where these big mega churches are the most prominent and more the most popular, it is not states in the United States and is not areas that have average high IQs. It's always lower IQ, it's always lower income, it's always um middle school or lower level reading. It's never super educated. There is a correlation between religious beliefs and IQ. There is. That's a scientific proven fact.
It's just been proven. Yeah, it's statistically been proven.
It is a shame. It is a shame because I believe that if people were to find the harmony and the balance that it was initially, given as a way of living, we wouldn't be in this situation. I think I told you guys privately that, the Christians and the Catholics always say that, Jesus will be back. I told you guys, if Jesus were to
Don't
come back
even.
and he looks like what he
Waiting.
looked like, if he comes back and he looks like what he possibly looked like Osama bin Laden, possibly with the features of a Muslim or Middle Eastern man, people will reject them and crucify him again. Like people have not gotten to the understanding of accepting others, valuing others, loving, having compassion. None of those teachings are in place, and we have a billion churches. A
But that's not
billion
who they
churches.
believe in. They don't believe in the person who potentially could have been a Jesus back in the day. They
Yeah.
don't even know what his
They
name
believe in the
was back in the day.
establishment. They believe
Exactly.
in the
They
whole
believe in the
establishment.
picture, the little drawing of the white man with the blue eyes, who's like
Right.
super
Exactly.
Caucasian looking. Like that's what they believe in. That's what they want to believe in because it's easier to manipulate them that way, and that's easier to control them and get all the money. Ask an
Exactly.
average Christian in this country, do you know what the real name of Jesus was back in the day? They would say, no, it's Jesus. Like I've seen those interviews on social media. I'm like, what's Jesus' name? What was his back in the day? No, it was Jesus. They really think that Jesus' name was Jesus, that ass. So like,
No, they think this Jesus Christ. It was Jesus of Nazareth. And I think there was another name that he was called by
Of
before
Joseph,
Jesus.
his dad.
So listen,
What would you call Joseph? His adoptive father? His stepfather? I
I'll
don't
say,
fucking
I don't
know.
know, but can I tell you something though? My sister and I have discussed this in length. I think Mary pulled out the biggest, most elaborated fucking catfish scam of all the land.
cheating,
Like
cheating scam.
that is the biggest gaslighting event of history, and no one can change my mind. Who impregnated Mary? Like you're telling me that you got listen, I have two options, and we've come to this determination. Either, somebody abused her or she had premarital sex as a 14-year-old girl. It happens to the
If
best
the
of us,
story is even true.
right?
Anal doesn't count.
So either she got pregnant by either abuse or, random sex because freaky times, or was it an alien impregnate you? Because how? This doesn't happen. It's not logical. The fact that logical people have the argument that Mary got pregnant for the power of God without ever having sex, please give me a break. Give me a break.
Well, then let me present a question to you.
Sure.
If you do not believe in the Immaculate Conception, which I fully understand why you wouldn't believe in the Immaculate Conception because it's just not possible. But that's you know,
Again, it could be if you're telling me that aliens visited and be like, pew.
people would say it's a miracle. It's the miracle.
Okay.
But anyway, scientifically, if we're talking science, it's not possible. So if Mary had premarital sex or something happened and she became pregnant through the scientific means that we know to be true, a sperm fertilizing an egg, is it possible, do you think it's possible, that in order to keep up with this lie that she told and pulled off the biggest hoax of all time, that she raised her son and had to raise her son in a way to believe in this story that she made up because she would be killed if she didn't?
It's a possibility.
Did he grow
That's
up?
definitely a possibility.
Did she make him insane, thinking he was the son of God? And he went on to preach this and to teach this, and people listened to him because he was the son of God. And maybe maybe he wasn't talking about bad things. Maybe he was just trying to teach these really stupid, lawless people how to behave and stop acting like animals. But they listened to him because he truly believed he was the son of God, because his mom had to keep up this bullshit lie.
A very big possibility, because first of all, I wasn't there, so I can't tell you what truly happened.
Really?
I wasn't.
Really?
Yeah,
You were not?
I know. Do I look good though? But I wasn't there. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But point of the matter is, if we're looking at Jesus, the Messiah, what is Messiah? Messiah is a guru, a teacher, an enlightened person. I can't say this enough. He was a man. He was a man. He wasn't a God. He's a man. Let's pretend that Mary told this lie, okay? And I'm sorry, Jesus, if it's not true.
My
but listen, but listen,
Jesus Christ.
maybe the ways that you teach your children, right, are the ways that they're going to continue their life. I try to teach my kids in the best of my abilities to have self-awareness and mindfulness and compassion for others. When they grow up, if they continue this way of life, if Jesus grew up thinking he was a special being, I am the son of the all-powerful and
Just
almighty
like Harry
creator.
Potter.
Whatever fantasy, if it was a fantasy that Mary created, that doesn't remove the fact that he lived an enlightened life, that he lived, I honestly, to God, I don't even think that he was, help me with the word, when you don't have sex.
Celibate.
I don't think he was. I think he was having a relationship with Magdalene. I mean, there's just so much more. We can go on for 10 hours on this topic for me. But the point of the matter is that regardless if she told a lie, or an alien came and impregnated this woman and that's why he was enlightened, or God really did the fucking power of creation impregnate her, it doesn't eliminate the fact that he led a life where he had these teachings that people were so obsessed with his way of living that decided to do all of these things and ended up fucking it up anyways. This is my obviously opinion. I'm not claiming anything to be factual, but it's just it's a mix of mythology with fantasy, with philosophy, with, I don't know. I don't know. And again, I wasn't there. I don't know what's true.
If that theory is true, it actually would explain why the Vatican, because they know this, let's say theoretically, why they're so fucking misogynistic. And this is something we did not cover yet. The misogyny of this religion is just outrageous.
Just like the Masons, because they're one.
And this is the part that, like, what if, that's why they're so misogynistic? Because Mary started this whole big shit, and now they have to just follow it and continue covering up her big ass
misogyny. The misogyny, if you're going to take the Bible as a factual timeline, let's say, the misogyny starts way before Mary, because the misogyny goes all the way back to the Old Testament when Eve ate the apple. Exactly. It is because of Eve, a woman, that we have sin. Everything was perfect. Everything was beautiful. Everything was wonderful. Everyone lived in harmony until Eve, a woman, gave in to temptation and fucked it all up for everyone. And now, to the end of time, we have original sin. Even babies are born.
I wasn't there, so I don't know if that really happened.
But according to the Catholic Church,
maybe it was Adam. Maybe
Yeah.
it's
Everyone
Adam.
has it because of Eve. Even babies are born with original sin, which is the reason they have to be baptized. If an
No,
unbaptized baby dies, it gets stuck in limbo
I
for
am
all of eternity.
I am so annoyed at this, by the way. You have no idea. Like, I have gotten shit from my family, which goes back to what Alex said, saying that in all cultures, me being an Italian family, they have gotten this Catholicism practices more as a cultural thing instead of a practicing of religion. None of these fucking people go to church. Let me just start here. None of them go
But
to
they still
church.
fucking
They
preach. They
possibly
still fucking preach.
they possibly don't believe in God, but they will judge you if you're a homosexual. They will fucking, if you get pregnant before marriage, God fucking forbid, you whore. You know, little things like this.
For
And then when I
Italians, Adriana, I think I can relate. I know for Italians, it is a culture thing and not
It
so much a
is.
religion
Well,
thing.
when my kids were born, and I decided for two reasons not to baptize them. Number one, it doesn't really mean anything to me. Even if we're gonna go back to the Bible, if I'm gonna go back to my love for Jesus, you don't need a temple to pray. You can pray in your house. I pray every single day in my ways. You can call it manifestation. You can call it my morning gratitude practices, whatever the fuck you want to name them. I do this every day. Call it prayer for this episode. So I don't need a temple. I don't need anybody to validate me. I don't need an acidic smelling man again to be my mediator between me and God. Like, I'm pure enough. I'm enough. I am connected to the divine. Thank you so much. When I decided not to baptize my kids, it was like I was sending them to hell by my own will. Like, they're sinners. Oh, well, I'm a sinner. Like, what does it mean? Like, you're telling me that a little bit of fucking holy water by an old man is going to make my child better instead of him living a life of self-awareness and compassion and love and respect? You cannot tell me that a baptized person that lives a life of fucking misery and adultery and fucking narcissistic whatever traits they could have is going to, you know,
Heaven over innocent
oh,
children.
exactly.
Yeah.
So please, let's just, it's just too
They
much for
just
me. That's
contradict
why.
themselves. They contradict
That's
themselves
why I
so
can't
much
believe in that.
because they
I really
use their
can't.
religion to justify their shitty fucking, you know, misogynistic, fucked up behavior, homophobic. So they can continue bringing up the words. They just use
Yeah.
their religion to justify it.
They use
Yeah.
Do they follow the
baptism is a
religion fully?
ritual.
No.
No,
Yeah.
they
That's the fucked
don't.
up part. They
They
don't.
don't.
Like every time, like I get into it with my mom because she claims she's very religious. We bump heads often, and she's like, "Well, whatever you just did was sinful." I was like, "Well, bitch, did you have sex outside of marriage? Oh yeah, you did. So shut the fuck up. Are you wearing clothes of mixed fabrics? Oh yeah, you do. So shut the fuck up. So don't pick and choose." That's like the fight that I constantly have with my family, and they learn they don't fuck with me anymore because the
Yeah.
factual things that I bring, like I always tell them, if you fully gonna tell me that you're gonna follow the Bible and follow your religion fully, I'll respect you. I'll fight for your right to do that. I'll go in
Yeah.
the street, and if somebody's gonna take that right away from you, I'm gonna scream that you need to have that right. I believe, excuse me, that people should have those rights. But
Yeah.
don't fucking push them on me. Don't judge me and make me a lesser human being because I don't believe what your little, mythology book part says. Like, we
Yeah.
can talk about
And
Harry Potter this way too.
it
And don't
goes
pick and
exactly
choose.
exactly. It goes exactly the same with the fact of abortion. You don't want to have an abortion, baby
Exactly.
girl, don't have an abortion. Like, this is
Yeah.
truly your right. It is your right to want to keep this child of a rape. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and live that life. Don't tell anybody else what to do, which people get confused when I say that I have more in this moment of my life. Again, I'm always changing, evolving, and learning. In this precise moment that I have more Republican beliefs in the political system, people confuse just by me saying that, oh, she's anti-abortion or whatever. That's not it. I am a being of a lot of things. I'm a midst of many feelings and many thoughts. People need to find balance. You don't have to identify with one thing or the other. Get out of your boxes. Get
Yeah.
out of your boxes. Let people be. Let people be fucking gay if they want to be gay. If they're gay, they're born like that, whatever the fuck they want to do. It's none of your business. Live your life in the best of your abilities. I have my set of rules for my home. I hope you have yours. Leave us the fuck alone. That's about it. Simple.
Amen.
Amen to that. Jinx to that.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
On
Oh,
that
man.
note, everybody.
Totally a good note to finish this episode.
Yes. Should we end in prayer? Our Father, who art
Padre
in
nuestro
heaven,
que estás en el cielo,
hallowed
Dear
be thy name.
Lucifer,
santificado sea tu
kingdom come.
nombre.
Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
dear satellite, or
man.
dear, I don't know if I want to pray to a satellite right now or want to pray to Lucifer.
Why
I
don't
haven't
you pray
decided.
to the why don't you pray to your finding
The poop
the
on the
moon.
moon.
No, the moon is metal. Haven't you been caught up with science? The moon is
Wait, what?
metal.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, we did discuss
it's
that
rusting.
It's
previously.
raw
Yes.
because I
Okay.
cannot. I
I
cannot.
will.
Anyways.
How much oxygen is up there that the moon is rusting? This is a whole different topic, though. We're getting okay.
Yeah.
I will pray to the rusty moon.
Yes.
Borderline, guys, whatever you want to do, manifest, pray, whatever the hell you want to call it. If that helps you, go for it. But don't fucking make others do it. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, mind your
Yes.
business. You
Yeah.
do you.
I will
Have a
continue.
wonderful
Do
time
us.
doing it.
I will continue to send you texts reminding you to be grateful. Here I am pushing.
Oh my God.
Well, that
No
was
pun
something.
intended.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
everyone. Have a great night. We will see you next week. Same time, same place.
As always, thank you for tagging along. See you next time. Bye.